Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I appreciate you being here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel here on YouTube is dedicated to those of you just getting started in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you some tips and tricks and things that I do every day in my own voiceover business. And then we get together in these weekly chats to talk about a topic or 10. Let's just see how it goes. We'll just roll with it. But if you're not new here, then you know that every week our chats are usually, we're talking about a specific topic. And again, we'll see where it goes. But again, this week, this question is about cold reads versus script breakdown. And I saw some of the comments about clarification on what script breakdown means, meaning you don't just, a cold read, let's just back up. A cold read is when you read a script for the first time, you record it, done. No interpretation, no thinking about it, right? A script breakdown could be any variance of reading through the script a few times, understanding the big questions, which are important, which are who you are as the narrator, who is your audience, and what is the purpose of this script, right? Are we trying to sell somebody something? Are we trying to, evoke some emotions? Are we just trying to share information? Who's my audience? Am I talking to a group of kindergartners? Am I talking to a group of doctors? Who am I talking to? And then who am I as the narrator? So the script breakdown is a far cry from a cold read. So I wanted to see, and be honest, what do you do most often as a voice artist? Do you just cold read the script? Mainly for smaller ones, right? Smaller scripts. Do you just cold read it, record it, and move on to the next thing? And this could be auditions, this could be jobs, this could be really anything. Or do you take the time to really break it down? Not so much audiobooks, because audiobooks are like a whole different thing. Although I do know some people who cold read audiobooks, again, depending on the content. But I would think mainly for the shorter things. So let's go over to the poll. We have 26 votes so far. it looks like I'm really surprised by this. So we have 37% of you said that you cold read. Well, I guess that's not surprising. 56% of you said you do a complete script breakdown. And then 7% of you said you didn't know what the difference between the two was. So I'm hoping that my explanation cleared that up a little bit. 56%. That is good, I think, because breaking down the script and understanding those big questions, right? The questions you should ask yourself every time you sit down and read a script or are asked to narrate a script. You should know who you are as the narrator, who you're talking to, and what is the purpose of this script, because that's going to completely change the tone for you and for the read, right? And I'm not talking necessarily about the tech specs or what the client has given you as far as context, backstory, tone or feel that they're asking for. Aside from that, just the script itself, there's a lot that you can glean in terms of purpose and who you are and who you're talking to by just reading the script and really taking the time to analyze it and to understand it and become that person who is narrating, who is speaking, who is saying these words, right? Because you as the narrator, you could be, again, a kindergarten teacher, you could be a doctor yourself, you could be a car salesman, that's really going to change the tone of the script, understanding and then becoming who that person is. Big difference. But it looks like I'm actually surprised by 39% of you said, did you cold read? I guess, again, it just depends on what it is, right? So if you have any further thoughts on cold reading versus script breakdown, or maybe something else that you do, if you have any tips for anybody else watching, I mean, this is a community chat as we get together and share information. So please share it in the comments, and then we'll get to it here in a minute. All right. So speaking of which, let's go ahead and get over to the comments and see who's here. How'd you guys like the new music? I was really digging it. It took me back to like my old house days. Or is it too much? I don't know. I like it, but I want to get your opinions. First in was Christina. Hey, Christina, how you doing? She says, I don't know if you call it a script breakdown, but I know my stories extremely well before narration begins. Of course you do, because you wrote them. But for people who haven't, written anything themselves, what do? You are the script creator in your case. Oslit Audio is here. Hello from Australia. Finally a chance to say hi over a live stream. Well, hello. Glad you could finally make it. I've been kind of falling into VO since late February and getting surprisingly good results. On to my third audiobook. Well, good. 3 audiobooks since February. I'd say that's pretty good. Bears VOA is here. Hey, Bears. How you doing? I read it silently, then out loud, then record, then edit. I know it will get more streamlined the more I do it. And good morning, oh goddess of the VO and the rest of us peasants. Stop it. I have no such thing. I'm just somebody that makes videos. No different than you. Oslit Audio says, your vids have been a major part of my journey thus far. Oh, good. From the day that I fatefully typed into YouTube, what do I need to start narrating audiobooks? Thank you for what you... Oh, that's sweet. I'm glad they help. I do. Oslit Audio then says, I do pre-reads on my audiobook projects, and that I think ultimately is important. I think you really should read through the audiobooks at least once before you start recording. But some of my YouTube vid hires are cold reads. I'm a teacher by trade, and cold reads don't scare me. But also, as a teacher, I know the importance of prep. And I think being a teacher, having that background is going to help you in, a lot of the educational kind of content, e-learning, the kind of stuff where you're sharing information as a teacher yourself. The who of the narrator, who you are as the narrator, is in e-learning anyway, is mostly a teacher, right? So having that kind of background is really going to help you with that. And I would imagine some YouTube reads too. P.S. I brought coffee. Cheers to you, my friend. We grow it at home. Oh, man. That would be awesome. Wish I could grow coffee. Named our roast Tin Picket after the corrugated tin and star pickets I use for our garden and fences. Plenty for my live stream comrades. T-list Tom. So is that what you want me to call you is But that is awesome. Grow your own coffee. I'd imagine that's tough. I'm sure you have to have the right kind of environment for that. Brian's here. Hey, Brian. Good morning. I don't know that I break down the script, but I practice it a couple of times. I've got another meeting, so I've got to go. Well, thank you for stopping by. But practicing it a couple times is really one way of doing a script breakdown. You're not really doing like a interpretation analysis and then marking it up and doing all those things. But by reading through it once or twice, you're getting a feel for what the answers to those questions are, right? What is the purpose of this read? Who am I as the narrator, and who is my audience? Reading through it a couple times will give you a good idea of, the proper way, or what your interpretation of the intended way this is supposed to go. If the client didn't give you it didn't give you much in the way of preferred tone or anything like that. But reading through it at least a couple times is a good way to start. Pamela's here. Good morning, Pamela. Good morning, all. My last Tuesday in LA. Your last Tuesday in LA. Miriam's asking the question we all want to know. Where are you going? Caesar says, oh, hey, new music. Hey, how are you doing, Caesar? I see that you have a cold again. I hope you're on the mend. You've been through the ringer this year. Hope you're getting better. Glad to see you here, though, Caesar. Oslet says, whoa, new music. But what will I freak our dogs out with now? I mean, I thought it was cool. I was flipping through. I was actually showing my partner something on my channel. I don't remember what. And he heard my, I think it was my YouTube intro. And he's like, that's kind of jazzy. That's cool. But then he's like, all your tracks are different. Like your stream intro and outro are a different track. And then he says it needs to be a little bit more cohesive and sort of on brand. And I'm like, okay. So then I went on to Storyblocks and started flipping through stuff. And I came across this track and I was like, I like it. That's kind of jammy. So trying it out. We'll see how it goes. I hope it doesn't freak out your dogs. Caesar says that said, hello, Angela. Hello, everyone. I've only had 2 hours of sleep, so I have nothing clever to say yet. And I will likely hit the hay after this, but I try not to miss these Q&As, even if I just lurk. Well, we appreciate you, Caesar. We're glad you're here. Glad you're here, and I'm hoping that you will get some sleep because you probably definitely need it. Bear says, we love and miss you, Caesar. Feel free to lurk. Yep. Lurking is welcome. Rustic Hillbilly is here. Haven't seen you in a while. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, all. Wish I could stay. We'll be back. That's awesome. Glad you could just pop in and say hi. Don't forget, guys, if you guys have specific questions about script interpretation or have additional tips or anything you want to share with the group, please do that. Because again, this is not just the Angela show. This is an opportunity for everybody to get together and share information, stories, things that help you. If there is a software, perhaps, that you use, I know there's a couple out there. And when I say software, I mean, I know some voice actors have multiple screens, either more than one monitor, or a monitor and then a tablet in which they mark up their scripts and all those other things. And this could be for audiobooks too. I can never remember names of things, but I know that there is software out there that you could download and mark up scripts. Of course, you could do it in Microsoft Word and Acrobat PDF. There's a couple, I mean, I'm sure there's software out there that does more. And I was watching my friend Jessica's TikTok the other day when she was marking up something and she had mentioned software. So I know there's more out there. I just can't remember anything anymore. So again, share the tips. Share the tips. Caesar says, say, which part of Australia are you in? If you're in Perth, it's got to be midnight. If New South Wales, it's like 2 in the morning. Yeah, I appreciate everyone that, you know, pops in from all over the world. I know it's tough, but I appreciate you making the time to say hi. Gregory is here. Hey, Gregory. I am a master of the cold read. Well, you are. I mean, for all the reads that you've done in our platinum group, I mean, this man joins our weekly group meetings in our platinum group while he's driving somewhere, and then he'll pull over, and then when it's his turn to read, and then he'll just read it. No like pre-reading or anything like that. And it comes out perfection all the time. I can jump into the nuances of a script almost immediately, thanks to my training in broadcasting. Yeah, I'm sure that definitely helps. Caesar says, thanks, Bears. Always happy to be here. Excuse me. As a participant or in the shadows, like some kind of creepy hooded figure that's playing with a fidget spinner. That's an image. While I'm here, though, for long form, I very much prefer receiving a script breakdown. Cold reads, maybe a quick on-the-fly prep. I can pull off far shorter form reads. And I think that's typically how it goes. For some of the shorter form stuff, there usually isn't a whole lot of context to break down. It's sort of like if it's just a sentence or two, that probably doesn't require much. Mainly you're going to have, with those, you'll have an idea from the client what the purpose, who you are, what the tone is, all those things. And that'll help you determine which direction to go. But some of the longer stuff, you really need to read it and figure out, with the help of the client, of course, these important aspects. Masonry Construction says, on the shorter type of VO work I do, almost always rewrite the script in order to visually show points of emphasis, pauses, emotion, and so on. It allows me to be more of a storyteller. And also, just something else popped into my head while I was reading that. There's a thing that we talk about a lot in my platinum group about punctuation. And understanding the fact that the written word and the spoken word are two different things. So if you're reading through a script and you feel that there needs to be a pause for emphasis, or maybe you need a breath and a pause works in that place, but there's no comma there, take that pause. Take that pause. Or on the flip side, if there is a comma there, but you feel like it would sound better without a pause, then don't pause. Really, the main things to keep in mind, or the main things to really acknowledge, are exclamation points, periods, and question marks, right? And that's when we start to get into, I feel a tangent coming on, and that's when we start to get into learning to read ahead. Also, when you're narrating and you're reading ahead with your eye, looking for those exclamation marks and those exclamation points, I should say, and question marks. So you know what kind of tone the question or the sentence coming up is going to have, right? And that's where marking it up, when you do the script breakdown beforehand, when you're doing that prep beforehand, you could even highlight those things. Or if you have multiple characters within some dialogue, say it's an audiobook where there's character dialogue going on, during that script breakdown process or the prep process, you could highlight each character in a different color. So, and then, have a cheat sheet nearby where you could have a complete character breakdown, including the color of their voice. So you could have on your cheat sheet, main character, their background, where they're from, any kind of other details about their personality or background or anything like that, and then the color of their voice. So as you're reading, you can see them coming up and you can switch into their character voice. Script breakdown or prep, I think prep is probably a better word, is something that should not be overlooked or skipped, especially in longer form, I think. Colder reads for some of the shorter stuff, yeah, I could see that happening. But for the most part, you should really take that time and break down the script. It's really going to help your performance and your read because it'll sound like you understand what you're saying and will help you to not fall into the bad habit of just throwing in artificial inflection. And if you get into the habit of just throwing in artificial inflection, then that could be something that would be really hard to undo later. So understanding what you're saying is going to serve you far greater than just cold reading and throwing in inflection in random places to make it sound engaging when it ultimately it just makes you sound like you don't know what you're saying. There's no connection to the words, if that makes sense. It was actually not a bad tangent. That was a good tangent, I think. Oh, we have a super chat. Hold on. Before I move on, I got to, where do we leave off? Okay, masonry construction. Okay. And then Dylan. All right, let's see if I can remember that. All right, super chat. Sean Lester 007. Hey, Sean. Good morning to you, Sean. How much time do you spend on script breakdown? And do writers out notes before you begin narrating? Of course, there's going to be different times and it's a case by case, really, to make it short and sweet. If it's something that's longer form, then I'm definitely going to take the time in collaboration or even considering what the client has told me about it and then giving it my interpretation of what is happening and who am I and who the audience is. And so, but some of the longer form stuff, let's just say it's a short educational video versus like an audiobook. Of course, there are going to be differences in time to break these down. Some things just make sense faster than others do, right? Some scripts, and as you know, in our Platinum group, when we go over scripts and reads, when we do this breakdown and prep in our groups, some take a little bit more time to fully understand because of the way that they are written than others do, right? So it's really going to be variable dependent upon what kind of project it is, but it's well worth the time, I think, to take and understand the script and break it down so you have a full understanding of what you're doing. And as far as the notes, or if you're asking I write out notes, again, depends on what it is. If I feel that there's something I need to keep in mind or remember, absolutely. But if you're asking if the clients provide notes, sometimes they do. And I love it when clients do because they will provide pronunciation tips or they will provide even small little of audio clips of them saying the words so that I can hear what it's supposed to sound like. And that's usually, I'll find that usually with medical narration, or if there are, even in some IVR, when people have, not unusual, but maybe uncommon last names that are maybe difficult to pronounce. So, there's a lot of variable there too. But make the notes, take the time to make the notes because it's just going to help you and your read, in the long run. And here we are. We left off. Thank you for the super chat, Sean. I appreciate you. Dylan says, I prefer to read and break down the script for every job I get. Even small VO ads have a story to tell that needs broken down to understand. I think that's a good habit, Dylan. Just take the time with everything. It's not a bad thing. Definitely a good habit. Bear says, you will get some great exposure to the difference in the Platinum group. Join, like, share, and subscribe. Yes, Bears, he is not a paid actor. He is a real Platinum group member, and he knows that I don't like plugging myself. It just makes me feel oogie. But it's a great group. I mean, it is. I love these guys. Caesar says, an audiobook has many elements to take note of: accent, emotion. I also tend to go deep in the performance, so mood, motives, and even character backgrounds and origins. All that shape my performance. Absolutely. I have a story says mainly cold. The Telltale Heart was the only one I tried to practice for. Wanted to get the psycho's character across a little better. A little method acting, perhaps? Glenn York is here. Good morning, Glenn. Recently received an email from someone on ACX saying they are a publisher and asking for my email to send details. Is this normal or should I run? On ACX, I would say it's okay if you want to. However, I would try to keep any kind of communication on the platform you're in. That way, if anything should go wrong or you need help, mitigation, assistance, the admin of the platform can see what is going on. They can see all of the correspondence and all of those things. But there are some publishers, rights holders on ACX that would much rather, it's easier, more convenient, faster, more efficient for them to work just directly through email. And that is okay. But if you go that route, then also copy and paste, I would anyway, the conversations into ACX email so then they can get involved should you need them to. But it's definitely not like anything to be concerned about. That happens quite a bit on ACX, but other platforms, of course, like Fiverr, Upwork, any of those, you do not want to take clients off their platforms because you will run the risk of being banned and blocked and removed from those sites. They do, well, Upwork's a little bit different, but for Fiverr, absolutely not. But it's not like an instant, scammer thing. It's pretty normal for ACX. Gregory says, more recently, as I have been improving in my mastering and editing, I have noticed, as far as audiobooks are concerned, that I needed to look at the audition pieces more closely and start again. Taking the time to break down the script and do the script interpretation or the prep, however you want to phrase it, especially for auditions. Now, granted, with auditions, the audition script that you get, sometimes you're not going to have the full script to get a full feel or the context of what's going on around what you're narrating. So you just have to make the best with what you have. If it's an audiobook and they've given you just a small little slice for the audition, most of the time, especially on ACX, that book is also listed on Amazon. Now, unless the rights holder is holding everything from being published because they want to release all of the different formats at one time and you can't see the book on Amazon yet, then that's something different. But if the book is already available for sale on Amazon, then you could do the look inside if it's available. You know how you can click on the look inside and you can read like 15 random pages of the book so you can maybe get a little bit more idea of what's happening. But if you don't have any kind of other background or context or anything at all, just make the best of what you're given. And then give the client a note saying, based on, the context that I had with this audition, this is my interpretation. But of course, in talking to you, we can come to, something that works for both of us, or I can, give this another go. Something to that effect. Om is my name. Yep. Okay, good. Om. Nice to meet you, Om. Glenn York says, recently received a message this is a dupe. I think we did that one. Om is your name. That is fantastic. I must meditate on that. And he will too. Christina says, but how do you develop all the character voices if you cold read? Exactly. I'm not sure how that works and how it could be accurate. Sometimes the detail of a character doesn't come into later into the story. And that is a very valid point. And I think cold reads would definitely be for short form or nonfiction, right? I definitely wouldn't recommend a cold read for fiction or audiobooks, anything longer form with characters that need to be developed in it. Absolutely. Dylan says, if you don't break down an audiobook, you could get to chapter 12, and the author writes, he said in his thick Irish accent. That's 12 chapters of work to splice lines into. Exactly. 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 And then also through the process, on that same note, through the process of breaking down the script, reading through the book beforehand, if it's let's just say it's like a fantasy fairy tale type of a book, sci-fi, and there are some made up names or unusual names, and you think you have the pronunciation down, especially like if for Irish names and stuff like that. You think you have the pronunciation down, or you even Googled it and Google gave you a pronunciation, but even Google is wrong. If you see this stuff during the initial read through and you're making notes on questions to ask the rights holder before you start recording, then that would be something you could definitely ask. Could you give me a phonetic spelling of the pronunciation of this name, or record yourself saying these names? So then that way I can get it right. And not just like Irish names and things like that, but there are made up names for worlds and cities and, guilds and stuff like that, that you want to make sure that you get right. Character names, so on and so forth. So reading through and making notes about those things, questions, asking questions, is definitely going to be found in that script breakdown phase. Julia's here. Hello, Julia. Hello from Idaho. Do you have any advice for a person that is dyslexic and is trying to get in VO? For dyslexia, I don't know. I want to say that I have talked to a couple people that said that they were. I'm not sure how they overcame that or how that worked for them. I'm sure there could be somebody here in chat that could answer that question for you. For me, I have a tendency to just mush things together, or my brain will skip over words or flip words around. Not so much dyslexia, but sort of another, I guess, a speech impediment. To get over that, I just had to slow down. I think my brain was going too fast and my mouth was trying to keep up, or just mixing things around to keep it interesting. I don't know why, but having myself or forcing myself just to slow down. And then also in that script interpretation phase, maybe making notes for yourself or highlighting things, or, to help yourself, your mouth and your brain connect. Right. That's pretty much all I can say. I don't really know. But if anybody here in chat has some great tips for a voice artist with dyslexia, you can put it in the comments, please, and help out Julia. Junior says, hey, Angela. Hey, Junior. I got a message from Fiverr support about advanced verification security. I never got this before and was wondering if this is safe and not a scam. I would say it depends on where it came from. If it was a notification, like in your inbox on Fiverr, then I would say that could be a scam. I've never had Fiverr contact me, like Fiverr support, contact me through the Fiverr inbox. It's always been directly to my email. So especially if the notification is looking for some sort of security password, something of that nature, click this link here, then I would run away. But again, I've never had Fiverr support contact me through the Fiverr inbox. It's always been direct to my email. If you're curious, I would not click on it or any links within it. You could email customer support with a snapshot of this message and ask them, is this you? Right? You could do that too. Sean Lester says, sometimes I get a dump of 10 or more YouTube scripts of a similar topic and style. I study the first one, cold read the rest. Yeah, I think for that kind of stuff, it's really going to be, like a case by case basis. Plus, I'm sure it's like you said, if it's all the same tone and style, it's all the same sort of approach, just different information. That makes sense. Dwight says, hello, Angela and crew. I'm late, so I bought the donuts. Sadly, I ate them in transport. Unacceptable. You owe twice as many donuts next time. Double the donuts. You're on double donut duty. Say that 10 times fast. Says, no, I love the old and new intro music. I have been known to blast it a little to the chagrin of Xena and Zelda, our canine princesses. I love that they are Xena and Zelda. That's awesome. Well, good. So far, we've got one good thumbs up for the new intro music. Caesar says to Dylan, I remember reading Stephen King's Duma Key, and I read a Hispanic character with a Spanish accent in my head. It was mentioned later in the book that he sounded American. Yeah. Bear says, don't be afraid to reach out to the author or rights holder for clarification if needed. Don't forget to watch this on your don't watch this on your 75-inch TV, because I'm I'm just gonna run away. Oh, nope. Bear says, great point, Dylan. Yep. He has good ones. Pamela said, Washington State, we leave Monday. New adventures before dentures is my new motto. Oh, and never cold, always some level of prep. Adventures before dentures. I love it. Dylan says, there's a book series that I'm listening to now, and the male character is supposed to have a slight Irish accent, but the narrator disregards it, and it kills me. Says, I'm in tropical North Queensland on volcanic red soil. Our kids are sick, so yep, I'm up. Win-lose situation. And yes, my son, you may invoke my name whenever you need universal connection. I think would fit right in with the rest of us over in the Platinum group. Caesar says, okay, so 2 a.m. My gosh, I do hope your kids recover quickly. I do too. Caesar's been through the ringer this year. It's never fun when kiddos are sick. Bear said, I reached out to the author for the current book I'm working on for accents, etc., and they are letting me run with it. Kind of scary. It is kind of scary. They should give you some kind of direction. Although I have had that happen too, where you really need some direction, like you're flip-flopping between two kind of ideas or directions for something, and you ask the rights holder and they say, I trust your professionalism. You're the professional. I trust you. And you just go, oh, well, okay. Then your only other option at that point is to record the two different takes of the two different, styles or tones that you're thinking of, and then letting the author choose. Or just recording it, sending them the first 15 minutes and just crossing your fingers that they like it. It's tough, but I mean, it's fun to have creative freedom, but not when you're flip-flopping between two different things. Says, cold reading audiobook characters leads to drift, where I kind of change characterization as I discover more about their motivations, personal arc, etc. If I can tell the listener will, do the prep. Great points. Dylan says, with a longer book, I'll have 2 or 3 pages of notes and an audio file of just the character voices I can go back and reference. That is another great, I'm glad you brought that up, Dylan, because I neglected to mention it earlier. When you're doing your notes and things, and after you have some clarification or some input from the rights holder for an audiobook with character voices, then once you have an idea of what the different characters are going to sound like, record the voice for them, either in separate files in a folder for that book, or you could even have a master track with slices of each character on it. And then, like, I don't know about other DAWs, but for Adobe Audition, you can put a marker in an audio track and then rename the marker something. So you could have a section for, character A, and then a marker, and then it says character B, so on and so forth. That way you have one file that you can go back to and listen to that character voice to remember what they sound like if you forget. Because as we know, no one is going to sit down and record an entire audiobook in one sitting, especially a book like this, because it's more than likely going to be longer than, 8,000 words or so. So it's going to be in several different sittings, or maybe you get sick and you had to take some time off. And then when you get back into the studio to pick up where you left off, you forgot what character C sounded like. So you can go back and refresh your memory. You can do that too. Ohm says gastro is a insert expletive here. Just counting down until my wife and I get it. Get it. Yeah, kids are petri dishes. Cheers, though, mate. Yeah, it's only a matter of time once the kids get sick. Dantastic Guy says breaking down a script helps make you sound sincere, connected, right? Sincerity in tone and expression is important, in my opinion. It does. And that is one of the major things that separates us from AI. Understanding, connection. Absolutely. Caesar says, I shall sacrifice a jar of Skippy upon the altar of the golden calf and pray for the swift recovery of your kids. There's Caesar. I'm recovering from a cold. Can't wait to hop back into recording again. Masonry Construction says, can you imagine any good stage or screen actor not breaking down a script? We are voice actors. A good script is worthy of a great read, as are our listeners. Steve Voiceover says, hello, Angela. Hello, beautiful and talented people. I can't stay today, but I stopped by to say hello. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Thank you, Steve, for stopping by. Bear says, I have an author that has emailed me, so I looked into the author and she is visually impaired. I'm still keeping all of the emails in a folder just to see YA. Yeah. If your spidey senses are tingling, listen to your intuition. Listen to your intuition. There's usually a reason for it. Really quick, I wanted to pop back in over to the poll. Just glancing at it really quick. We got 52 votes. And again, the poll question was, which do you do most often for a script, as we're talking about today? Do you do cold reads? Or do you actually take the time to break down the script or prep the script or, understand the script for just easy understanding? It looks like 37% of you said cold read. So it's pretty much staying the same, 58% of you. So more than half of you do a complete prep breakdown. But really, I think it's case by case. I mean, you're probably going to get away with cold reads for shorter stuff, or like Sean was saying earlier about having several scripts that are sort of similar. They're all sort of the same idea, just different topics, same audience, same, you're the same person. So that would make sense. But for the most part, I think we should be doing our work as the professional and understanding what we're saying and who we're saying it to and why we're saying it. Absolutely. Caesar says, what I've noticed from listening to cold read performances is that performers fall into a cruise control cadence and ignore the read instructions, like she whispered viciously or he roared angrily. Yep, and that also leads into the cruise control cadence can also have that artificial inflection thrown into it, like we talked about earlier. Oops, almost skipped you. Ohm says, don't forget to rub some eucalyptus oil over the skippy leg before sacrificing. Lubricates the invocation for added oomph. You guys are like two peas in a pod. Musical Neptunian said, I recommend a quality online dictionary for saying foreign words, etc., such as Merriam-Webster unabridged. And I have it on a shortcut on my browser, Merriam-Webster, because it is a great place to go. I would go to Merriam-Webster for pronunciation before I would go to Google. Another great tool that doesn't work for everything, but it could be a last Hail Mary if you don't have any other options, but Youglish.com. If you type in a word, let's just say you're doing a book with a lot of regional pronunciations and you want to make sure that it's right as the narrator, you can go to Youglish, you type in that word, and it'll pull up several YouTube videos where that word is said. And you can find one that is being said by someone in that region. So you'll have the regional pronunciation if you're not from that region. So that's another helpful tool. But Merriam-Webster is definitely the place to go for pronunciation tips. But again, if it's made up stuff or like fantasy stuff, then you definitely want to get the rights holder involved for actual pronunciation. Caesar says, I don't know. The last time I rubbed eucalyptus oil on my leg, a koala fell in love with it. Ohm says, one on my YouTube channel, Repeat Customers, has me do the reads in an American accent. So every now and then, if I don't pre-read, I drop out of the accent like an X-Wing dropped out of hyperspace. It can happen too. Christina says, I don't understand how you cold read a fiction where the author has made up languages and complex names. I may be guilty of this. Example, you're going to make me pronounce that? Janvusa? And no, I can't pronounce it. Evil author. Yep, me. Janvusia. So you're going to have to tell me how to pronounce that. Spell it out phonetically for me. Musical Neptunian says to Ohm, you must also channel the force of Dennis Lilly for added healing. For Americans, he was famous 80s Aussie sportsman. Gregory says, I have a character voice Rolodex when it comes to reads and auditions. However, as I read the narration surrounding, I find my initial approach was inaccurate and punch and roll a better voice for certain characters. And I think what he's referring to with the Rolodex is to have a stable of like archetypes, like voice, like character archetypes that you can just summon in your head. Like for me, for example, I have what I call in my head the lumberjack, which is kind of like a gritty, hardy guy. And then I have the Barbie, who is sort of like really bubbly and animated. And then I have, there could be many different character archetypes that you can just immediately summon, right? That remind you of somebody or somebody from a show that you can mimic, right? And then as you go along through the story that you're narrating, as you're breaking down the script, you can add the little nuances to the character to it. So you can sort of take that, one of those archetype characters, and just kind of tweak it to fit the character that you're narrating. Joy is here, the embodiment of joy. How are you, Joy? Hello, everyone from Southfield, Michigan. Hello, Joy. Ohm says to Julia, if you have a set of strategies for reading outside of VO, would these just transfer across to your reads? Example, screen resolution, line spacing, colored lens, font type. Bard says, hi, Angela from sunny Florida. Hello, Bard. Just found your channel just the other day, and I'm loving all that you do. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate that they help. My videos help. I appreciate that. Eugene Gavsky. I hope I'm saying that right. A self-taught narrator and translator from Russia. Just wanted to know your thoughts about Russian localization of your content. I was thinking to do it. I don't know. I'll have to think about that, about what you mean exactly. Gregory says, I work with kids who have dyslexia, and I tell them to pay more attention to what their eyes see versus what their brain is interpreting certain words. It might be the long way round, but it works. Oh, there you go. Gregory's got some hot tips for you. Eugene says, fan of your YouTube work. Your videos are really helpful. Oh, good. I'm glad that they help. Bear says, we could have Ohm join and we can practice our Australian accents on him. I would never do that to you. Maybe. Caesar says to Christina, I read that as Yanvuxia. Oh, you're still nowhere as evil as the doctor who came up with pneumono ultra microscopic silico volcano God, I need my glasses on for that one. You're just a mean man, Caesar. Ohm says Youglish sounds like a very good idea. I've used it a few times for like just regional stuff. It really helps with that. Joy says, I do breakdowns of scripts as often as possible with auditions so that I have at least 2 reads for the author. So if they liked one over the other, I'll know which file they picked. Caesar says, oh, wow, I just checked out Youglish and I love it already. It's helpful. I mean, it's helpful to have in a pinch. Christina says, I'm thinking of pulling a special group together to translate my weird words into the audio drama. I have no idea how to say whatever that is. MS Word says Janvukia. I'm not brave enough to say it. Ohm says, I know of Dennis Lilly, Deza, great at throwing aluminum cricket bats. Absolute legend. Or aluminium, however you say it. Caesar says, I am not imagining Angela's videos dubbed over in Russian. I'm now imagining dubbed over in Russian. Musical Neptunian says to Christina, just pick a character from Farscape and imagine how they would say it. Musical Neptunian says to Ohm, I have no idea. Oh, Maynadad versus Dennis Lilly. And then Christina says to Musical Neptunian, it's the name of Angela's vampire world that she wanted for the project. Of course it is. Of course it is. Now Christina is going to blame me anytime anybody complains about the pronunciation of this word. It's Angela's fault. She wanted that. Thanks, Christina. That's okay. I'll take the blame. It's fine with me. Eugene says, I mean making videos, and that's it, if you don't mind, of course. I don't know. I think it'd be just Eugene. Okay, I appreciate that. I think I'd have to think about that. Because if you're male and I'm female, that's going to be one thing. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. Caesar says, before this live Q&A concludes, don't forget to smash that. If that's missing, the like button will do. Ohm says, Bears, your Aussie is guaranteed better than my American. Let's meet at dawn and shoot terrible accents at each other from 10 paces. You guys are so funny. All right, I think we're going to wrap this up today. I just want to thank everybody for participating in all of the great information. We had some really great information shared here today in regards to cold reading versus actually prepping and breaking down a script before narrating. I think ultimately it's useful to do. It's useful to take the time, and it will just benefit your read so much more, I think. So if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button. If you're Team Replay, please consider subscribing. It really does help my algorithm to show my content to more people looking for this kind of content. So it does really help. I appreciate it. So that's it, everybody. I'll see y'all next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And we're going to leave you out with the brand new music on the outro as well. So I'll see everybody next week. Bye.